SCP-6061. Guilty, guilty, guilty. Containment Class: Esoteric. Secondary Class: Uncontained. Special Containment Procedures. Due to SCP-6061's uncontained nature, Foundation operatives must monitor for murders aligning with SCP-6061's regular pattern. Should a particular murder case be determined to be an SCP-6061-C event, standard disinformation protocol is to be followed. Instances of SCP-6061-B are to be collected immediately. All deaths of SCP-6061-A are to be attributed to the increasing rates of gun violence in the regions where the events took place. Any survivors or witnesses to an SCP-6061-C event are to be questioned as soon as possible. Description: SCP-6061 is a phenomenon conducted by an unknown and anomalous entity, hereafter designated as SCP-6061-1, currently affecting an unknown number of people across the globe and capable of beginning SCP-6061-C events. During these events, victims, hereafter known as SCP-6061-A, are reportedly compelled to kneel to the ground in front of them before immediately suffering a fatal gunshot wound to the back of the head from SCP-6061-1. Following the death of the victim, a paper, hereafter known as SCP-6061-B, containing the victim's name followed by the word guilty, spontaneously manifests beside the victim's body. Soon after, SCP-6061-1 reportedly disappears. According to the information the Foundation has procured from eyewitness testimonies, SCP-6061-1 has been reported to always be invisible to all means of detection. Furthermore, during times when SCP-6061-C events are witnessed or captured on camera, the scene is also immediately changed following the presumed appearance of SCP-6061-1. Due to this, the Foundation currently suspects that SCP-6061-C is capable of inducing temporal anomalies. The reasons as to why SCP-6061-1 conducts SCP-6061-C events are unknown, but a common link has surfaced between SCP-6061-A instances, indicating that a background related to art may increase the odds of being a victim. As of the time of writing, all occurrences of SCP-6061-C events have resulted in the deaths of at least 105 separate individuals across 30 countries. Further investigation is being conducted. All witnesses to SCP-6061-C events have been questioned and subsequently amnesticized by the Foundation. Addendum 6061-1. Below are the current listed victims of SCP-6061. SCP-6061-A-1. Name: Gina Louise Darnley. Occupation: graffiti artist. Country: the United Kingdom. Injuries sustained: 1 gunshot wound to the back of the head. Deceased upon arrival in Foundation custody. Crimes: 1 count of accidental manslaughter, 3 counts of vandalism to do with graffiti and public works. Inscription on SCP-6061-B: Miss G.L. Darnley, guilty. SCP-6061-A-53. Name: Mitsuko Chikuza. Occupation: mural painter. Country: Japan. Injuries sustained: 1 gunshot wound to the back of the head, several gunshot wounds to the torso, 1 gunshot wound to the neck. Deceased upon arrival in Foundation custody. Crimes: none. Inscription on SCP-6061-B: Miss C. Mitsuko, guilty. Additional note: due to East Asian naming conventions where one's given name is placed after one's surname, the inscription has been found to be incorrect. SCP-6061-A-78. Name: Anika Abara. Occupation: professional calligrapher. Country: South Africa. Injuries sustained: 1 gunshot wound to the back of the head. Deceased upon arrival in Foundation custody. Crimes: 1 count of driving under the influence. Inscription on SCP-6061-B: Miss A. Abara, guilty. SCP-6061-A-105. Name: Manuel Rivera. Occupation: college student studying multimedia arts. Country: Mexico. Injuries sustained: 1 gunshot wound to the back of the head. Grievous blunt force trauma to the torso. Expired 16 minutes after arrival in Foundation custody. Crimes: 3 counts of larceny. Inscription on SCP-6061-B. Mr. M. Rivera, guilty. Update: 6061, October 3rd, 2018. 17 days after the last occurrence of an SCP-6061-C event, another event has occurred in the United Kingdom. A survivor named Edmund Langley, hereby designated SCP-6061-A-109, was found at the scene. Pursuant to the anomaly's secure containment procedures, the transcript of the resulting interrogation has been displayed below. Interviewed: SCP-6061-A-109, Edmund Langley. Interviewer: Dr. Xavier Fern. Forward: SCP-6061-A-109 was found covered in blood at his residence, which was host to a crime scene where 3 murders had taken place. Foundation operatives procured SCP-6061-A-109 3 hours after it was taken into the custody of British police. The subject had experienced no bodily injuries upon transference into Foundation custody. Begin log. Dr. Fern enters. SCP-6061-A-109 recoils at the sound of the door opening. He is seen visibly shivering. Dr. Fern: Good evening, Mr. Langley. SCP-6061-A-109 remains silent. His shivering continues, his eyes are wide. Mr. Langley? SCP-6061-A-109 looks up at Dr. Fern. He is panting. My name is Dr. Fern. I'll be interviewing you today regarding your experience. SCP-6061-A-109. My experience? Yes. Shall we start? SCP-6061-A-109 shivers more visibly. He replies in a quiet manner. It wasn't an experience. It was murder. You have to understand that. Yes, Mr. Langley. Can you tell us what happened? Can you... SCP-6061-A-109 catches his breath. Can you promise to protect me? We will, Mr. Langley. Don't worry. It's alright if you tell us what happened. We're here to help you. SCP-6061-A's hand shakes as he adjusts himself on the chair and clears his throat. So, do I start, anywhere? Start wherever you're comfortable with, Mr. Langley. SCP-6061-A-109 clears his throat again. He looks down. We were celebrating, my newest painting. A little something that Loft put together. Lafayette, she's my girlfriend. It was just the 4 of us. Me, John, Ellie, Laugh. SCP-6061-A-109 pauses. His voice shakes as he speaks. And then, all at once, I felt SCP-6061-A-109 places his hand a few centimeters from the back of his head. The muzzle of a gun to my head. SCP-6061-A-109 begins shaking harder. His breathing becomes erratic. It was so fucking cold. So goddamn cold. I started to sweat, my hands shook like fucking mad. I was trying to look around to open my mouth, but I couldn't. All I could move was my eyes, and I saw everyone else. SCP-6061-A-109 looks to his side, away from Dr. Fern. Take your time, Mr. Langley. We are in no rush. I saw the fear in their eyes, Doctor. They were shaking too. Loft's eyes, they were wide open. Ellie was trying to speak, but her voice was just a squeak in her throat. John was gritting his teeth. We had no idea what the fuck was happening. We were so goddamn scared. SCP-6061-A-109 looks at Dr. Fern. His hands begin to fidget. And then we heard the command. Clear as fucking day. Kneel. Something said I don't know how to describe it. We didn't understand it, but we did. I think I'm going mad, but it said we did something wrong. We were being... SCP-6061-A109's features stretch into an expression of terror. A tear begins to fall from his left eye. Executed! SCP-6061-A109 takes several moments to regain his composure. His body begins to shake violently. We obeyed, of course. Of fucking course. Our knees were shaking, but we knelt down. All the while the muzzle of that fucking gun was to the back of my head, and I could just feel how cold it was. I knew that we needed to obey or die. Simple as that. Then it began to read what I assumed was our rights, but it sounded like gibberish. We understood everything, but we didn't. It used words like tributation and max judge and reinforcement, and more tears began to fall from SCP-6061-A109's eyes. And all the while, my friends and me stayed rock fucking silent, scared, our knees shaking, our teeth chattering, the cold, bloody cold gun to our heads. I was looking at Laugh through the entire thing. Her eyes were locked on me. Fear and terror and God knows what going in through her head. I saw it. And those big wide eyes, I knew she was saying, "What's happening, Eddie? Eddie, what's happening?" SCP-6061-A109's voice diminishes. I couldn't get us out. I couldn't. SCP-6061-A109 wipes the tears from his face. His eyes are red. That moment stretched into forever. I was just watching her, trying to understand who the fuck put us through this. And then the legalese stopped and it said 4 goddamn words. Guilty or not guilty? SCP-6061-A109 sobs loudly. All at once we began to cry, we began to plead, to shout. "Don't kill us," John said. "Please don't. I have a little girl at home." He was right, he did have a little girl. He visited her in Birmingham every Friday. Her name was Tana. Ellie was shaking violently, trying to hold back her rage. She was a weightlifter. She was the strongest of all of us. But all she could do was strain and strain as she started shouting in frustration. Her mom had Alzheimer's. Her dad had just died. She couldn't afford to die too. Then Laugh, right across from me, wasn't doing any of that. Her fear was gone. She was looking at me, tears in her eyes, smiling. Fucking smiling. Trying to tell me it was alright. That's what she said. "It's alright, Eddie." Her voice was fucking shaking. I knew she was terrified out of her mind too, but she wanted to comfort me first. SCP-6061-A109 shakes his head. The volume in his voice has notably weakened. Guilty or not guilty, it said. It was shouting now. Shouting in its cold, hard language. It needed an answer. SCP-6061-A109 chuckles to himself again. He has not yet stopped sobbing. John answered first. "Not guilty," he said. "We didn't do shit, officer, we swear. We stayed off the drugs. We didn't do anything, we're innocent. Please!" The pleading in his fucking voice was so damn pitiful. I never heard John cry like that. And then, just as he was speaking again, SCP-6061-A109's voice lowers. His brains were emptied all across the floor. I can still smell the blood, so strong that it filled the entire room. He was still looking at us when he fell down, and we could see the big gaping hole in his head right down to the floor. He had a fucking daughter and it just killed him. Like that. He was only 22, goddammit. SCP-6061-A109 bangs his fist against the table. Dr. Fern recoils. "Mr. Langley." SCP-6061-A109 continues to speak. His face expresses aggression and rage. Ellie was next, and she just fucking looked up at where she knew the bastard holding her hostage to be, and she gritted her teeth, fucking defiant to the end, and said, "I'm not guilty, you fucking bastard." SCP-6061-A109 bangs on the table 3 times. Tears are streaming down his cheeks. His teeth are gritted. Bang! It shot her in the back. Bang! It shot her in the neck. Bang! It shot her again. She was gasping on the floor, choking on her own blood, and it just left her there. SCP-6061-A109 whimpers. His voice diminishes once again. It just left her there. And we all knew deep inside us that it was because she gave it lip. SCP-6061-A109's head lay limp to one side. He is staring at nothing. He continues to speak, but his voice is hoarse. "It's alright, Eddie," Loft said. She was smiling. Even though I could see her entire body shaking. "It'll be alright. It'll be alright." "Guilty or not guilty," it said again. Laugh was smiling. She didn't even reply. The next moment, her brains were splattered all over me, and those eyes lost everything they had. I just watched her there. Her black hair had brains on it. They were pink. Pink like the paint she bought me yesterday. SCP-6061-A109's body remains limp. Then it finally came to me. Guilty or not guilty, it said. It was taking time with every word. I was the last. It could take its time. The cold muzzle seemed to be burning me now. Burning me as I began to speak. We didn't do anything. Why? I was crying. I was fucking crying. I was waiting for them to pull the trigger. I was closing my eyes, and in my head I was thinking. Just fucking thinking. SCP-6061-A's voice has gone hoarse. Why? Why? I did something wrong, I know. I deserve to go to jail. But why? SCP-6061-A109 begins to wail and bang on the table multiple times. He is unable to cease for several minutes. On Dr. Fern's request, he is subsequently sedated. End log. Closing statement. After the interview, SCP-6061-A109 was left unresponsive in a catatonic state. Due to this, head researcher Fern has mandated that SCP-6061-A109 be confined in a mental ward under Foundation oversight. No improvement has yet been seen in SCP-6061-A109's condition. Addendum 6061-2. The following are the inscriptions found on the instances of SCP-6061-B found inside the crime scene. SCP-6061-A106. Name: John Gaunt. Occupation: unemployed. Country: the United Kingdom. Injuries sustained: 1 gunshot wound to the back of the head. Deceased upon arrival in Foundation custody. Crimes: 2 counts of drug use, 1 count of drug trafficking. Inscription on SCP-6061-B: Mr. J. Gaunt. Not guilty. SCP-6061-A107. Name: Eleanor de Aquitaine. Occupation: professional weightlifter. Country: the United Kingdom. Injuries sustained: 2 gunshot wounds to the torso, 1 collapsed lung, 1 gunshot wound to the neck. Deceased upon arrival in Foundation custody. Crimes: none. Inscription on SCP-6061-B: Miss E.D. Aquitaine. Not guilty. SCP-6061-A108. Name: Lafayette Jones. Occupation: nurse. Country: the United States. Injuries sustained: 1 gunshot wound to the back of the head. Deceased upon arrival in Foundation custody. Crimes: none. Inscription on SCP-6061-B: Miss L. Jones. Not guilty. SCP-6061-A109. Name: Edmund Langley. Occupation: accomplished and well-known painter. Country: the United Kingdom. Injuries sustained: none. Currently within Foundation custody. Crimes: none. Inscription on SCP-6061-B: Mr. Edmund Langley. Guilty, guilty, guilty. Special punishment imposed. Update: 6061. December 3rd, 2018. After 2 months of remaining in a catatonic state, SCP-6061-A109 has regained partial functionality and is able to move on his own with the basic awareness of his surroundings. Subsequent amnesticization and discharge from Foundation custody is pending on the decision of the head researcher. Incident Log: 6061. December 5th, 2018. Following the incident in Site-118, a log of the events has been included below. Forward. The following log has been taken from footage originating from the CCTV camera located within SCP-6061-A109's containment room. Begin log. 2234. SCP-6061-A109 is seen withdrawing to his bed, which is partially out of view of the camera. He is presumed to be sleeping. 2239. SCP-6061-A109 gets up from his bed. His arm is bloody. 2240. SCP-6061-A109 dips his finger on the blood on his arm. He begins to draw the outline of a person with his finger. 2246. SCP-6061-A109 has drawn 3 figures in total. Their arms are stretched above their heads. SCP-6061-A109 is seen mumbling to himself and smiling happily. He lies down in a fetal position next to the 3 figures. 2249. SCP-6061-A109 remains in the fetal position. He is sleeping. 2257. The door to SCP-6061-A109's cell is opened by an unseen force. SCP-6061-A109 is immediately alerted to the noise. 2257. 3 seconds later, the scene inexplicably changes. A trail of blood leads from where SCP-6061-A109 was to the outside of a cell. SCP-6061-A109 is nowhere to be seen. End log. Closing statement. Upon the detection of a cell breach, an alarm was sounded immediately. With the arrival of site security on the scene 30 seconds later, they found the still-living SCP-6061-A109 secured to the wall of the Site-118 lobby. SCP-6061-A109 had suffered grievous injuries to his eyes, hands, ears, and knees, conducted presumably to completely remove or cripple function. Subsequent analysis of the wounds concluded that all injuries were done via the careful use of a standard M1911 pistol. A wooden sign was found hanging around SCP-6061-A109's neck, with the words, "Learn your lesson," written in plain English. SCP-6061-A109 was reportedly still screaming when site security initiated an effort to bring him down. As of the time of this writing, the subject is currently still alive. Thank you for listening to SCP-6061. If you enjoyed this SCP, please follow the link in the description to the SCP Wiki, and vote it up to support it and the SCP Wiki as a whole. Also, if you have any SCPs you'd like for me to do, please leave a comment below, and I'll see what I can do.